If this podcast project is a chapter book about Brittlebone's legacy of strange, then we can call the first few episodes a prologue, setting the scene. And this is where the cataloging of weirdness truly begins. With the artifact that inspired it all. The artifact that we'll call the Wayward Staircase. Not long ago, I first learned about a popular, relatively new modern urban legend giving people the creeps and moving the needle in paranormal discourse. I was sitting in the break room at work, a cheesy gordita crunch in one hand and all 23 flavors of a Dr. Pepper in the other, when one of my co-workers started telling me about these stories he had read online. Not always the greatest of indicators that I really needed to tune in and take note, but on this day, he had an absolute gem for me. He said he had been reading a message board thread started by a search and rescue officer for the U.S. Forest Service. The thread described these mysterious staircases that had been appearing in national parks and in deep, dense forest wilderness. Staircases out in the middle of nowhere, miles from civilization, in places where there's no reason for staircases to be. Now, this coworker had once claimed he could lift the back end of a fork truck with his bare hands, and that Baker Mayfield was going to be the next Tom Brady. So I sat there with my mouth full of cheesy crunch, ears open, head nodding. But there's no question that the staircase story captured my attention. I knew I needed to dig into this subject myself and see what these claims were all about. And the digging I did uncovered a fascinating phenomena. A phenomena that ultimately led to me sitting here in front of this microphone. The tales of these mysterious staircases can be traced back to a 2019 Reddit thread. A post by a user claiming to be a forest rescue volunteer. This volunteer claimed he'd been on a search and rescue mission deep in the remote wilderness of a national park when, out of nowhere, he encountered a staircase with no explanation sitting in the dense forest. The surprise appearance of a flight of wooden stairs was weird, but perhaps weirder. When he told his superior officer about this encounter, his superior just told him to get used to it, because these staircases sometimes just popped up out of nowhere. The officer strongly advised the volunteer that it's best just to ignore the stairs, and he was furthermore explicitly instructed to not go anywhere near them. Now, if you're listening to this show because you're a fan of the paranormal, you may already be familiar with this phenomena. But just in case you've never heard of these staircases and you're new to these stories, there's a reason that it's search and rescue teams finding these stairs. It's because rescue teams are searching areas of deep wilderness where hikers are believed to have gone missing, and they're bumping into these staircases instead. And this staircase phenomena is not contained to just the one national park included in the Reddit story. Claims of encounters with these cryptic stairs pop up in all corners of the world. And with those claims come other unnerving tales. Reasons why these staircases, if encountered, should be avoided at all costs. Without question, the staircase phenomena is most closely tied to missing persons cases. Of course, not everyone that encounters a set of these stairs just disappears, because if they did, there'd be nobody left to tell us all about the weird carpentry anomalies occurring in nature. But it's not just an association with disappearing hikers that seems to be deeply unsettling people about their encounters. There are claims that coming within close proximity to these stairs can trigger any number of potentially disturbing symptoms. Some witness accounts claim that their stair encounter left them feeling suddenly dizzy, confused, disoriented, as if they'd completely lost their sense of direction. Others said that in the presence of the staircase they'd stumbled upon, they had become suddenly overcome by unexplainable sensations of dread or foreboding. For some witnesses, it made their hair stand up on the back of their neck, and for others, this dread came upon them like a deep fear, gripping them to the point of momentary paralysis. Perhaps the most gut-churning claim people associate with these appearances is evidence of animal mutilation. Corpses of squirrels, birds, and deer found ravaged in areas near these sightings. In some instances, these mutilated remains are said to be bloodless, as if they'd somehow been drained entirely of fluids before being spread apart. In other times, there's plenty of blood. Luckily, in all of my research so far, none of the missing persons cases involved with these stairs are said to have been resolved with encountering this particularly grotesque phenomena. One of the most common claims in witness accounts is that time would go missing. Like animal mutilation, this missing time phenomena is not a new idea in the world of strange encounters. It's a common occurrence in UFO close encounter claims. Witnesses say they would be in sight of these stairs for no more than 3 minutes. Meanwhile, 3 hours would have passed on their phones and watches, and an afternoon would have turned to dusk in a heartbeat. One particular post claims that a man had climbed a set of these stairs when he'd been hiking by himself, which you should never do, and when he came back down off the stairs, his cell phone was entirely drained dead. The man found his way back to his car, drove home, and upon arriving, his family lost their minds when they saw him, frantic that he'd been missing for 2 weeks. He plugged his dead phone in, and when it came to life, 1 million notifications went off, sent to him on days that he hadn't yet lived, but were now already in the past, according to his calendar and everyone else around him. 2 minutes on the stairs had been 2 weeks everywhere else. The nature of this phenomena seems to be that getting too close to the stairs, even only for an instant, born of curiosity, can quickly turn one from witness to victim. Now that we've covered the claims surrounding these mysterious staircases in the woods, it's time to dig in and see what lies at the bottom of these tales. And when digging into the truth of this phenomena, our shovel immediately hits the roots of this urban legend. And by roots, I mean Reddit. There's no getting around the fact that the original park ranger Reddit post that spawned the legend of the mystery staircases is written on the message board forum No Sleep, a website where short fictional stories are posted to give readers the heebiest of jeebies. The story of the park ranger and their mystery staircase simply went viral. All of the tales that poured into the Reddit forum, dozens of stories citing cryptic staircase encounters around the world, began appearing as a response to that original No Sleep tale. And recognizing this birthplace of the legend as a space to post creepy fictional stories, it immediately becomes pretty simple to pin these tales down as works of creative writing, posted online for others to read, and to add their own take to the legend. It becomes easy to suggest that the claims surrounding these stairs so closely reflect the claims of UFO encounters because the people writing the stories just took what they heard happens when a flying saucer appears in the sky and applied it to staircases appearing in the woods. Slowly, a new phenomena full of old tropes was built, creating a fresh, vibrant story with a widespread and highly engaged community based entirely on people just repeating things they'd heard somewhere else before. But even if all of the stories are entirely fiction, it's often said that the most enduring fictions sprout from a kernel of truth. And make no mistake, there are kernels of truth at the base of these stairs. Turns out, there are very real staircases in forests around the world. If you fire up a search engine and look for stairs in the woods, you'll see for yourself. Staircases in forested habitats have been documented, only the stairs don't look clean and all science fiction-y like the staircases of lore. These stairs are instead old, worn down, and have widely been attributed to old houses and other structures that have been torn or burnt down, leaving only their molding stone staircases behind. I cannot find any supported cases of these real old abandoned stairs causing symptoms like the urban legend. Nor have I found any evidence that they're involved in the other, truly terrifying kernel of truth lying at the heart of this urban legend. And that is the shocking number of people that disappear in wildlife in national parks each year. Although the federal government doesn't track the number of missing persons cases in national parks, independent researchers estimate between hundreds to over 1,000 people could go missing in these parks each year. Meaning, the creepy staircase stories might be fictional, but they strike at the heart of a very real, very alarming matter. And here, the question must be asked. Have any of these kernels of truth ever sprouted to life behind the homes of Wayward Court in Brittlebone, Ohio? Brittlebone's Wayward Staircase wasn't metal or stone or freshly carpeted. It was wood. If memory serves, it was not spotless and clean like it had been copy-pasted into the wild. It was in good shape, but it was also dirty and grimy. It looked like it belonged more to the realm of abandoned construction than science fiction. To the best of my knowledge, there were no mysterious disappearances in town associated with the staircase, and I never heard of any tales of teenagers becoming lost in time when they climbed to the top of the steps to pound a couple natty lights. The staircase was in the woods, but not exactly what I'd call the wilderness. Certainly not in the middle of nowhere. It was behind a cul-de-sac, not far from a riverside bike trail. And it did not exactly require a harrowing, expert-level hike to reach. The truth of this chapter is, the Wayward Staircase doesn't exactly fit the description of the internet-famous staircases of mystery. But the Wayward Staircase might have a more impressive legacy of strangeness than all of those other staircases of legend, because it was real, and UFO tropes weren't needed for it to be indisputably connected to two human beings leaving this earth. There's a reason we stopped here, to cover the staircase phenomena. That original Reddit post about the staircase in the woods, the origin of the legend, posted by a person claiming to be a park ranger, offered up this creepy tale as a fictional answer for the question of what is happening to all these people going missing in national parks. The stories might be fiction, but like any good fiction, it draws from reality. Our Wayward Staircase, however, doesn't pretend to offer any kind of answer. It offers only the opposite. It's a 12-foot tall question mark, lit aflame and burning. I started this project with the Barker family case because of this discovering the staircase stories. It's maybe a weird place to start because ultimately the Barker case has been closed for 20 years and forgotten about for probably the same amount of time. Those facts were enough to slam the case shut and to let it gather dust. But in the same way that the staircase detail was missing for years from all public accounts of the Barker case, there's another glaring absence, a failure to answer the greatest smoldering question of them all. Why? Why did a sunny Wednesday in a cul-de-sac spiral into blood-spattered murder? And why did the afternoon that ended in a family's annihilation begin with the burning of an unexplainable staircase in the woods? It's important to note that original staircase story was written from the perspective of a park ranger issuing a warning to advise readers to avoid these staircases at all costs if you happen to come across one while hiking. The advice offered is clear. Stay away from them. Maintain a good distance. Do not touch them, and do not, under any circumstances, climb them. But what does the warning say about dousing one of these staircases in gasoline and setting it on fire? Nothing. And yet, there is a police report filed away in Brittlebone, Ohio, that says if you do this, you'll be dead before the last flame flickers out. Brittlebone, Ohio is written and produced by me, Chance Sinclair, and from the listener feedback I've gotten so far, it's pretty clear what you'd like to hear about next. So for now, we're saving up your listener stories and we're digging further into the strange soil of the Wayward Circle. Next episode should satisfy many of the messages I've gotten because next episode, we snap on some rubber forensic gloves, light up an old-timey tobacco pipe, and we dabble in the art of true crime as we uncover the gruesome details of the October afternoon that brought the Wayward Staircase to a pile of ash. If you're enjoying the show, Please throw it a like, subscribe, and follow along at Brittlebone Pod across social media platforms. Email at brittlebonepod@gmail.com. Visit our website at brittlebonepod.com. And as always, thank you for listening.